Sia lodato Gesù Cristo. Come abbiamo ascoltato nel canto, il nostro cuore può essere
Just like we have heard in the song,
qualche volta anche
our
meschino,
heart may be small,
ma il suo destino
sometimes petty,
verso il grande cuore che è il grande cuore
but its fate is to go towards the great heart, which is the great heart of God, the heart of Jesus.
soggiacere di non essere
And we have to become capable of not succumbing, of not being crushed by
senza amore sulla nostra
those inventories that we do without love in our life
vita, perché
or that of others. The song said, "From the eyes one understands
una delle forme più
when life begins again."
soprattutto di quella di Dio verso
And forgiveness is one of the highest forms of friendship, especially that of God towards us.
che stiamo meditando quest'anno nella nostra scuola di
The
cristianesimo
theme
è il dono della
that we are meditating on this year in our Christianity school is the gift of communion.
cercassimo ancora una volta senza
I would like that we try again one more time and tirelessly to penetrate the beauty,
la profondità di questa parola,
the grandeur,
che è una parola cristiana.
the depth of this word.
E per
It is a
questo,
Christian word.
dicevo, c'è un metodo semplice. Almeno
To do this, there is a simple method.
tutti i ragionamenti o tutte le
At least intuitively,
istintivamente,
not needing all of the reasoning, all of the theologies, but instinctively,
con cui quando riceviamo il
let's start from the extreme concreteness.
faccio la
When we receive the Eucharist during Mass, we say,
e significa
I want to take communion. It means
pezzo di pane, quell'ostia
taking
che per un
that little piece of bread, the host,
comunica la persona
that by a miracle that was wished from Jesus transmits to us Jesus the human being,
e comunicandoci la
His
persona
body,
di Gesù
His
ci
love.
mette in contatto col
Transmitting to us Jesus the person puts us in touch
di Dio amore
with the heart of God the Father, with the intimate mystery of God's love in the Trinity,
quando diciamo la parola comunione
and then begins to unite us all together. When we say the word communion,
se volete
we mean all of this.
perfino anzi soprattutto l'estrema bellezza
We even mean, above all,
sogno del paradiso
the extreme beauty
dove gli uomini
of the dream of paradise,
saranno immersi in un bagno di comunione
where all people
e di amicizia.
will live immersed in a bath of communion
Ho fatto,
and complete friendship.
voglio fare la comunione,
There, I took communion.
devo
I want to take communion.
la Chiesa è comunione,
I must construct communion.
Dio è comunione,
The church is communion. Jesus is communion. God is communion. We are communion.
ecco con una sola parola
Our movement
che ripeto
is communion.
coraggio
With a single word
e concreto
that I repeat has a very concrete anchor.
farlo.
You understand. Take communion. Make communion.
Facciamo con lo sguardo
We
del cuore ma anche degli
embrace with the gaze of the mind, of the heart, of the eyes, of all.
deve saper fare.
It is all the way that our little heart
Abbiamo detto
has to know to do it.
che questo dono della comunione deve
We have said
plasmare la
in a meeting that this gift of communion
persona, la mia,
must shape the human person,
poi abbiamo detto
ours,
un altro incontro
mine, and yours. And then we said in another meeting
la famiglia,
that this gift of communion must shape
abbiamo ancora il certo,
your family.
che deve plasmare la comunità e questa
Now we expand the circle some more and say that it must shape the community. The shaping of the community happens through the phenomenon of human and divine friendship. You understand that there would be many things to say. Even the ancients who were not Christians, the Greeks, Aristotle, the Latins, had many beautiful pages on the theme of friendship. They used expressions so deeply sacred and complete, which seem almost to belong to the sacred scriptures. Let us take the simplest judgment, that which Saint Augustine gave, who had the ability to have expressions that were very beautiful and strong and simple. He said, the riches of nature, in which nature's needs are basically two: life and happiness. We men desire to live and desire to be happy. The gift of life, St. Augustine says, corresponds to the necessity of health. Health that includes everything. Life, beautiful, rich, and intense. Then he says, the need for happiness corresponds to friendship. Therefore, he said, the riches of life are two: health and friend. Where the word friend means all possible relationships of friendship. To live and to be happy. Lord, give me health. Lord, give me friendship. Because these are the riches of human nature. When one speaks of friendship, St. Augustine simplifies. One begins with the first friendships. The first friendship that you experience is the marital one, then the family one, starting from a small child. Then growing up becomes the friendship of adolescence. The need for an adolescent to have friends. And now our young people with Facebook, where you give and receive friendship, they have the impression of being able to have 100, 200, 1,000 friends. I read that someone had 5,000 friends. I apologize for this joke, but the experts say that if you have 5,000 friends, 4,850, you can cancel them because it is impossible, according to the psychologists and sociologists, for someone to maintain more than 150 relationships. Let's talk about the need to give and receive friendship, to have friends. Then there are various origins of the characteristics of friendship. Friendships where people work together, friendship of collaboration, friendship of belonging to a place, to a village, to a town, to a country, to a city, friendship of pastimes, of convivialità, friendship of study, friendship of research, friendship of commonality of ideas, and even that friendship nourished by faith. It is always friendship, but clearly many things are changed inside of it. There are riches that are not always easy to understand. Usually friendship, which according to the ancients, could have an absolute vertex. Some said to have a friend means to have a soul in two bodies, or only one heart. Even the Acts of the Apostles say that the early Christians were of one heart and one soul. Aristotle was already saying, this is a friend, having one soul in two bodies. Someone else said that friendship is the happiest relationship, the most free, the most joyful, free from complications, a relationship where there is no jealousy, no hunger, no possession. In friendship, there is an absolute feeling of good, meaning feeling of good in this company, in this bond that is born and needs time to create itself in life. The noblest pages in literature regarding the phenomenon of friendship, when it is born, when it strengthens, especially when it is true. The Bible says, the true friend is a medicine for life. Another said, friendship is like a marriage between two souls. They are all words, definitions. All the bonds have a matter of friendship. Then they can grow. Even the conjugal relationship. If the marital friendship does not come about, which contains everything, it is like a marriage where the soul is also married. The most obvious problem when it comes to friendship is this. Everyone wants to have friends, but few reflect that the origin of friendship is not the fact of having friends, but to be a friend. I can have many friends, but all of them, a little bit at a time, will disintegrate because I am not a friend. The friend is a friend for his friend. It's something that day by day should form, mold, to mature myself. I can also find myself in an environment full of unfamiliarity. We typically see this if I enter in this church for the first time, and I cannot say yet that I have friends, but I enter in an environment like this and I am a friend. My heart and my mind are already in a willingness to embrace, to forge bonds, to recognize, to watch, to let itself warm the heart. The important issue in friendship is to be friends. Now, in this beautiful reality, but generic and broad, so initial and so ideal, at the vertex of the experience, one inserts himself powerfully to the God communion, this God that knows what friendship means. It is that friendship in which a person is completely himself, even if he gives everything, is not lost, even if he takes it or leaves it, wants it all and does not insist on anything. When we speak of God as three people of the Trinity who have a love of nature that give everything. We speak of divine friendship, which we can only attempt to imagine while stuttering. At a certain point, Jesus comes to earth. He comes to earth to be a friend of humanity. The Bible says he is the husband of humanity, the brother, the firstborn son of humanity. He is everything. But in his system, he has this characteristic. His system is to nominally call people close to him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, 12, and then to a wider circle, those who are with him to follow him, to listen to him, to grow fond of him. You have to look at the Gospel of St. John, chapter 15. Why? Because in this chapter, it talks about the time when Jesus is about to leave his disciples at the Last Supper. Jesus has a discussion about love, about friendship. It first gives the example of the vine, the shoot of the vine that must remain attached to life, that the conditions to bear fruit, and then starts to say, you have to remain in my love. The love of a person becomes a kind of space where the other has to live. Jesus asks a kind of identification. He uses these words. It was not you who have chosen me, but I chose you. We're reminded of this problem of friendship with God. Not to be afraid, because it does not depend on our actions, on our ability, on our goodness, but by Him who chooses. We know that Christians are called those who were chosen, the elected by God in the letters of St. Paul. I have chosen you. And Jesus adds, I have not treated you like slaves. The slave does not know what the owner does. The slave is there, he observes, but not in intimacy. I have called you friends because I have told you everything the Father tells me. And here we should just sink into the happiness and joy. Let's try to imagine what the Father says to His Son. We know that Jesus is the Word of the Father, but it means that everything that the Father tells to Him, it personifies. Jesus adds, I have never hidden anything from you. If you read my life, what I did, what I am about to do, the silence in which Jesus is about to die, the cross. I have made everything known to you. My parables, my miracles, the way I was looking at the reality, the flowers of the field, grains of mustard, the family events. I told you all that I have inside. So, I have called you friends. Jesus continues to say, no one has greater love than he who gives his life for his friends. He is going to give his life, And we know that in that night, to show that he gave life to everyone, with the desire of the heart, to give it to each one by one. Just as a father and mother distribute bread to the children, one by one. Jesus said, "Take, eat, this is my body." This is the friendship of which Jesus spoke. Then he insists, "You will be my friends if you do what I command to you, not if you return to being slaves. If all that I showed you will become the law of friendship in your life, become the law of your heart, the law of your intelligence," he continues, "remain in my love. Love one another." We can deal with the whole issue of friendship as psychologists, sociologists explain it to us. As in literature, philosophy deals with it, as it tells the experience we have had. We know that from a small initial enthusiasm, that is from a happy child who comes home because he has a friend in kindergarten, one can get to incredibly high relationships. Those that Maritain called great friends, or Saint Teresa calls friendship of good, that sustain life and are for life. Now we have to get to the simple formula of a medieval author. It is Latin. Ego et tu. Ego et tu. Et spero, quaditertes, inter nos, sit Christus. You and I hope that the third among us is Christ. There are antique engagement rings that have carved in the gold. They have carved the image of he and she and Jesus holding both of their hands together. The reality that we call the church from the beginning was this. Christians found themselves together and have tried in every way to be together, listening to the word of the Lord, taking food together, having Eucharist together. They understood donating and putting their riches together, caring for the sick, the imprisoned. The first Christians did this, and the writer that tells their story said, they were one heart soul. He said they were one heart soul. And thus, this is how Christians had experienced friendship. And I repeat, this is not in the sense of seeing if we become friends. Let's see if we become friends. If we succeed and build acceptable relationships, but not like this. On the contrary, something has happened between us when 1, 2, 3, 10, 20 are together. We are in the middle of them. I am with you every day. This is Christian friendship in this moment. We are friends. We as a church, we are friends. If you go and search for what will unite you with this person, you will begin to see differences. This one is young. This one is old. This one is not trustworthy. We will go forward and we would begin to analyze. And this, humanly speaking, we want to be good, merciful, have charity. This is true. But Christianity is not that. Christianity is one in this moment when he enters and hears this story says, he says, I do not know, but I am surrounded by people who are my friends. And even better, of which I am a friend. I am in an environment where a strong one, God, one who gave his life, he became bread, one who is everything, one who had his heart hurt for me and for you, where bleeding his blood I am in a place where the law implies, love one another as I have loved you. And love one another as yourselves. We Christians, if we can identify in the church the person who is the most dejected and the most marginalized, the saddest person, I don't know how to say, the most depressed person. If we could identify this person most depressed, we should be sure that Jesus is next to everyone, but above all, he is next to that person there. This is Christianity. You understand? We seek God, but already, when we read, he came down from heaven and dwelt among us. And if there was one place lower than this place, that descent would not really be a descent. Saint Teresa said, it is typical of the love of God to lower himself. So the more something is lower, the more God lowers himself. It is not difficult to understand. I will make an example to explain it easier. Imagine that in a garden, there are a father, a mother, a child. The father and the mother are discussing with one another, chatting. And the child is playing, running and having fun. At one point, the child falls down and gets hurt. And where are the mother and father? Immediately they are there. They have always been near the child. But to the fallen child that has hurt himself, they are even nearer.
Sento queste cose.
Like this, we have to think of God's love.
Mi viene chiesto di
I
essere
enter this church
amico perché l'amicizia mi è stata donata e quindi il mio cuore è stato un po' già
I was asked to be a friend
e poi non ho più
because
problemi di
friendship was given to me,
perché
and my heart has changed,
è lui che
and I have no more problems to analyze
in mezzo a questa realtà.
because I know
L'origine
He ensures that friendship is now in the midst of this reality.
io non ho bisogno
This is the origin of Christian friendship.
dicendo non vuoi esercizio, non lasci il lavoro,
Now,
devi dare delle letture,
since you always tell me I should give you something to read,
c'è scritto,
I will tell you what the book says, as this is where we need to work.
logicamente vuol dire educativamente, e quindi
The book says this.
un elenco di 10 parti, 10 punti, e vi comprendili uno per uno, siete nel vostro gruppo, ne pigliate uno per uno lì davanti a questa frasetta, che l'amicizia significa questo, come
And then there is a list of 10 things
come siamo, è facile,
in the book.
se volete lavorare. Allora, l'amicizia cristiana, vi riprendo adesso le cose fondamentali.
So it's easy if you want to work to look at the book. The book says
Una
this.
raccomandazione che mi è stato fatto di quello che dice il libro, perché poi su quello dobbiamo lavorare. E io finora non l'ho fatto e allora adesso cerco di obbedire.
Because I have been told I must say what the book says.
Amicizia.
Okay, so now
Non capisco di
I'm going to be obedient and say,
stata donata.
the book says this.
C'è un impeto di amicizia, c'è un flusso di amicizia, c'è una...
When I understand that I do not have to do anything because friendship was given to me, there is a force of friendship, there is the breath of Christ, His blood that wants to flow in our veins, that wants,
Che l'amicizia ha una soglia,
I also
va bene?
must have a teaching.
La parola
The teaching says, look that friendship has a threshold.
che il Papa, è importante perché l'ha detto il Papa, però non l'ha
Threshold means beginning.
Lui disse
Remember that the Pope said,
quindi è importante, disse che l'amore cristiano da marito e moglie comincia con buongiorno, buonasera, ciao,
he said,
come è andata al lavoro. Vi ricordate che il Papa l'ha detto?
Christian love between husband and wife begins with the words, hello, sorry, thank you, how was work?
Vero quello che ho detto, ma tutto può essere rovinato dal fatto che io non curo neanche la buona educazione.
I can do everything. But everything can be ruined by the fact that I did not see to good manners.
Diciamo
You understand?
di non essere
Good manners is to be minimally attentive
immagine
to others.
di essere, cioè la soglia dell'amicizia, le attenzioni elementari.
The threshold of friendship
Io cerco come attenzione,
is made of elementary attention.
farlo anche voi, io cerco di farlo col maggior
I try as basic attention.
che occupo, voi forse non
You can also do it. I try to do it
volta che mi
with as many people as possible,
devo salutare soltanto le 3 persone che conosco,
but try a little bit.
in cui ne saluto una che non conosco tanto per cominciare.
Is it possible? Every time I come here,
Se decidessi che
I only greet the same 3 people.
3-4 di nuovi, ho interessarmi, ciao, chi sei, come va? Beh, forse qualcosa nascerebbe di più. Allora, la soglia elementare dell'amicizia. Poi c'è
But if I had 3 or 4 new people to greet, things would be born.
il centro,
To greet people whom I do not know is to begin a minimal relationship.
dico, questo,
Then there is a center,
questo avere un cuore commosso da Gesù,
and the center is Jesus' friend.
vicino alla persona di Gesù.
To have
Avere un cuore che
a heart touched by Jesus,
avere un cuore a cuore
a heart near to the person of Jesus,
nelle cose che
to have a heart to heart with Him.
magari sono più affaticato, c'è l'amicizia cristiana è prima di tutto l'amicizia di Cristo e per Cristo è sua per me, e questo ha bisogno di
The Christian friendship is above all Christ friendship and for Christ and His for me. This needs to be honored and celebrated.
E quindi già mi rende lieto di tutti quanti quelli che voi siete qui, anche se Dio qualche
The center,
non conosco.
which is already there, and therefore makes me happy of all the people who are here.
Ha un centro così forte. Comincia
And then even a horizon,
desiderio è verso
meaning when one has a center as strong as this, begins to move himself, and the desire is that of friendship.
l'amicizia diventa come respirare. Respirare. Detto queste cose,
The desire is that friendship becomes like breathing.
elenco i punti pedagogici che sono già segnati. Ognuno è responsabile di Cristo per
Now I will list the teaching points that have already been marked.
certo, dare un saluto è una cosa che si può fare in
1. Everyone is responsible for Christ for the other. Do you understand? To give a greeting can be done in 2 minutes.
ai legami che abbiamo,
Being responsible for Christ is not by chance.
c'è una scala in questo, va bene?
It binds to the ties that we have, to the relationships, to the responsibilities we have, and there is a range in this.
Permette adesso di parlare a tutti,
Okay, I am responsible for Christ for all of you,
dato per tua moglie,
in particular as a priest.
già hai, cioè, però
You can be responsible for the people that the Lord has entrusted to you, for your wife, for your children, for the friends you already have.
ed è un tesoro che
We're responsible for Christ.
tesoro che dobbiamo comunicare.
We're responsible for a treasure that we have.
Due persone sono amiche.
It is a treasure that we must administer and communicate. St. Augustine was saying that if two people are friends and do not come to talk about Christ,
Ancora un cuore. Ma se io
their friendship is missing something fundamental.
sono legato,
It is like a friendship that does not have a heart.
sono tuo testimone, allora
But if I communicate with people with whom I am bound in favor of Jesus,
vengo a fare le prediche,
what happens
ma sì,
is that I'm a little bit responsible.
quello che succede a te e a te.
It means that I care
Io vi faccio questo.
what happens to you
Siete una famiglia.
and to Christ.
Sapete che
I ask all of you,
il cuore del vostro sacramento.
are you a Christian family?
Addirittura poi nella scuola di cristianesimo
And know
imparato che quando
that Christ is the heart of your sacrament?
l'hai detto a nome di Gesù e quando lei ti ha detto io prendo te l'ha detto a nome di Gesù.
You have learned that when she told you, I take you, she said it in the name of Jesus. And when you said to her, I take you, you said it in the name of Jesus.
Un'altra famiglia amica,
In your love, there is an infinite that has gone through you.
in famiglia
You know this.
problemi, che le cose non vanno,
If you have a family friend
stanno quasi rischiando di
who is wearing himself out,
perdimento, o
he has
stanno
problems in his family,
candosi, la domanda è tu che fai? E tu che fai?
so they are in risk of the marriage. What do you do?
L'importanza dell'amicizia.
What do you do?
Cos'è tanto più puoi fare?
Certainly, it is in that moment that the importance of friendship comes out.
Io non c'è.
The more friends you are, the more you can do. But you cannot say,
Non è
it is your
solo
business.
lei,
I have nothing to do with it.
bambini, è
You can't.
che li ama tutti.
Because there is not in play only she, he, the kids.
Vedete, c'è all'inizio della scrittura.
There is also in play Christ, who loves them all. Do you remember the question at the beginning of the Bible? Where is your brother?
Sei venuto a trovare, avevo fame,
What have you done to your brother?
stavo di morte,
Or when I was sick,
oppure non capivo più, oppure mi
I was hungry, thirsty, I was getting a divorce,
con discrezione,
or I was not understanding anything.
facendosi aiutare e
With discretion and wisdom, with assistance.
l'importanza di avere tra gli amici un amico che sia prete o che sia perlomeno una persona consacrata a Dio, perché vi può dare un aiuto che altri non possono dare.
intervene. And among friends, there is a necessity to have a friend who is a priest. Try to have friendship with a priest. With time, he will be decisive, important. He will talk to you about Jesus with more authority, which may come to shake your soul, your heart. And he knows he has the right to do so. Or if you want, not to a priest, but give your friends the right to intervene with your life. Tell them this. What friend is a friend What friend is a friend who sees you sick physically and has nothing to say to you? And if he sees your soul is sick, he has nothing to tell you, but it may be that to tell you something, you should have given him the permission of friendship. The second point. In Christian friendship, unity is the most valuable asset. A question. In the unity of a community, are the small units needed? Answer. The small units are needed if needed. That is, if they put themselves in the service of the great unity. Even a small group of friends. A small group can meet together to clean. We could cook for someone who needs it. The small units. Do you have 3 friends? Good. Make yourselves serve in a service. Point number 3. In any friendship, every small hurt, for as much as it is hidden, hurts everyone. Every little good, for as much as it is hidden and humble, is good for everyone. In the kind of Christian friendship that we have described, one cannot hide. I have a sin, but it is mine, and I see it myself with my conscience. It may also be hidden, but every little hurt hurts everyone. And every little good is good for everyone. Point number 4. In a community that thrives on friendship, there is a need of friendship towards those who must act as an authoritative. I am doing it. Tiziano is doing it. Each group has its own responsibility. Look, sometimes whom is responsible, sometimes needs criticism, sometimes needs to be stimulated, sometimes needs to be a little bit contradicted. But those who play an authoritative service need people who say, if someone were to come to me and say, Father Antonio, what do you need? I would say that sometimes you say to me, exert on me your authority. Tell me something. The authority should be stimulated to be what it has to be. Many times, authority does not work because no one requires its service. And to whom he must exercise says, so what's the use?
L'autorità va onorata così, non va onorata con l'obbedienza soltanto. Tu comanda e noi magari a denti stretti obbediremo.
The authority should be honored in this way. Should not be honored with obedience only.
Desideriamo la tua autorità nel campo chiaramente previsto dalla vita di una comunità.
You do understand that we want your authority
Perché quando è
in the field provided by a community.
non desiderata di essere autorevoli, ma desiderata
The authority should be desired.
quando l'autorità è desiderata può
When it is desired by others,
può anche rischiare qualcosa. Può anche essere così.
because when it is desired by others,
Se invece
the authority may move with freedom and risk something,
usata un po' alla
can be imaginative.
e diventa anche paurosa.
If rather the authority is feared or refused a little,
Poi,
it
un altro punto,
becomes dark and scary.
custodire
That means it does not do what it needs to do.
la comunità
Point number 5.
ha bisogno di fedeltà. La fedeltà
Guard
si estende ai pensieri,
Loyalty.
alle azioni.
Friendship needs loyalty.
Vuol dire
Loyalty extends to the thoughts, to the words, to the actions.
tutto col male.
Loyalty does not mean that everything is fine,
Pettegolezzo,
but it means that I do not enjoy myself with hurting when I am together with others. Gossip means to have fun with hurt. Complaining means having fun with hurt.
da persone che magari non
All that strange world that destroys communities
si divertono con le cose
is made by people who may not do it for malice, but for psychological and emotional fragility, are having fun with the things that are not good.
neanche mangiare assieme, trovarsi e divertirsi assieme.
A community of friendship grows when people are having fun with good. With good, and who also eats together, meets together, and have fun together. Point number 6.
La signorilità di dire
A community needs people who keep what they promised.
ho promesso di partecipare
It takes the elegance of saying, I promise this and I keep it.
ho detto vengo io e dopo 3 volte non
I-
ci sono più.
Promised to participate in the choir,
Mantenere quello che si promette,
and I go.
esigere da se stessi quello che si è promesso.
But then after 3 times, you don't go anymore.
E poi
It takes loyalty in which one promises.
c'è più amore di quanto
Dignity. We must demand from oneself that which one promised.
ce n'è ancora.
Point number 7. A community is made up of friends if everyone knows that the community, there is more love than one deserves. And when you do not deserve it, in the community, there is still friendship and love for you.
Dare fino in fondo al
In conclusion,
cuore di Dio,
because our community is the Carmelite community, it has the problem of the heart, of going all the way to the heart,
sono a servizio l'uno dell'altro.
to the heart of God.
Si vuole essere santi per
It is a community where the word holiness and friendship are at the service of one another.
nella santità. E vabbè, santità non vuol dire l'aureola intorno alla testa,
One wants to be holy to be friends.
vuol dire appartenere
One wants to be friends to grow in holiness.
al cuore.
Holiness is not to have a halo over your head. Holiness is belonging to Christ and to the church with all your soul and with all your strength.
È il testo dove si parla di come è fatta una vera comunità. A pagina 106 è un testo bellissimo del Brel che dice a un certo punto così: la fortuna del gruppo sta nell'incontrare persone che sono decise ad amarsi insieme fino in fondo, senza cedere a inutili indulgenze gli uni degli altri. La presenza del Signore nel gruppo ci riempie di profondo rispetto perché porta Cristo con sé. Ecco, questo è quello che ci auguriamo. Sia lodato Gesù Cristo.